Not doing any of that. No Springleaf drums. Now I think the big finisher is Kappa Cannoneer and Urza's Saga. And my favorite card in these style of decks, I think it's phenomenal, the one of Lava Spar Boots. It is so good in this deck. And whenever I see an affinity deck that doesn't play them, I audibly gasp.
Good stuff. Yeah, no Frogbites and Mirror Forces, unfortunately, either. But we do see
they're in the sideboard.
Yeah, we do. We do see Urza Saga, and we see the classic Affinity start, just dumping your entire hand. Urza Saga, Haywire Might, into Mox Opal, Tormod's Crypt, and now Emery. Mill 4 cards, off to the races.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of the shell that we're left with after Breach. It was this kind of stuff. The hyper-aggressive 8 or 7 Mox deck, Emery, Tamiyo, Urza Saga. It's hard to go wrong. There's so many other ways to put those extra cards in, whether you're playing Jeskai Quarry Cutters, Affinity, whatever kind of stuff you're doing, that shell is still very powerful.
So Thoughtseize a little bit late to the party. Michael would have loved to have won the die roll here.
Yeah.
I think that Thoughtcast, though, so going to keep the card flow stymied a little bit, but Emery, of course, can get to work here. And this has got to look pretty good for Burke, right? Yeah,
it looks good, especially if Burke can draw a land, which I think that was a Darksteel Citadel. The Dimir deck's #1 weakness, Urza Saga. Urza Saga is so good against them. If they have the ways to destroy it with the Harbinger, that is great. You can only destroy these Urza Sagas for a couple more weeks, as the card did get a bit of a buff here, basically overnight. Kind of saw that yesterday.
Yeah, Saga rules changing with the upcoming Final Fantasy set, but not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So we see that Darksteel Citadel come down. Of course, mana available. Also, Box Amber, too. So plenty of mana available.
Oh, yeah. Had it available already.
For Burke. And then Saga, of course, we're looking at 2 huge constructs. Great board for Burke. Yeah. And just a land pass for Michael. Of course, counter spells, spell snares are all well and good, but not when you're this far behind.
Yep. Agreed. And now these constructs are just gigantic. So if Michael has to deal with these constructs on just a 1-for-1 basis, just, aim a fatal push at them, sure, it works, but it's not a great plan.
Yeah, and we get the Emery engine going as well. Enough artifacts in play now to produce a Thought Monitor. So Emery is, this card you just got to kill, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to see a third chapter trigger on Saga. In response, make another construct. Saga's going away. We're going to find ourselves a 0 or 1 mana artifact.
These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they're about to do here.
You were calling it.
Maybe, though. Honestly, Ababa looks pretty good here with Emery as well, and these constructs will get there, eventually. So this wasn't a clear-cut boots. If, Burke had the perfect information that there wasn't a removal spell in response to equipping, sure, you do that because the game just ends. But I like Spellbomb here. It's a nice, consistent way to protect your Emery.
Yeah, this is a great hedge, right?
Yeah.
So to protect your Emery, be able to answer, sort of Psychic Frog coming down, whatever else it might be.
Yeah.
Already ahead on board, looking pretty good. So here comes the 1 construct, and it's going to be in for a decent amount. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It looks like 8. Just you get to count the land.
Land 2.
Yeah, there we go. Darksteel Citadel, not played in a lot of the Jeskai list, for instance. You just can't afford that when your mana base is already brutal. You kind of have to play Saga as your only way to not produce colored mana. But in Azorius Affinity, you can really play a lot of these artifact lands that supercharge not only your Thought Monitors, that kind of thing, but makes the constructs gigantic.
The cherry on top here. Woo! So Burke has the Metallic Rebuke for the Hail Mary Psychic Frog, which honestly wasn't doing much anyway.
Oh, no.
And that's it. We are done here. Phenomenal draw for Burke. Winning game 1 in fantastic fashion. So what's Mike got to do here at the sideboard, right? 4 Consigned Memory, 1 Engineered Explosives, 3 Harbinger of the Seas, 1 Jace the Mind Sculptor. Hell,
gasp.
1 Kaido, 1 Nile Spellbomb, 3 Stern Scolding, and 1 Toxic Deluge. Consigned Memory, Harbingers, something coming in here, right?
Yeah, I like Harbingers. I don't know if I like Consigns. They seem okay, nothing special. But the Stern Scolding, the one of Engineered Explosive looks great. I want to be Stern Scolding Thought Monitors, Tamiyos, Emerys, those kind of things. That ends up just being a great card. And then you want to take out some of your more clunky stuff here in the main deck, maybe your Trespassers, maybe your Murktides, and be a little bit more lean from Michael's side.
How important is Harbinger against Saga?
It's very important for a couple more weeks.
Until they change that one.
Then maybe Harbinger will be in the Azorius Affinity deck, you know?
Absolutely.
That'd be fantastic.
On Burke's side, we got 4 Consigned Memory also. 3 Damping Sphere, 3 Dispatch, 2 Force Negation, 1 Wear Tear, and 2 Whip Flare. What's Burke up to?
Whew, not much. I think the dispatches look really good up against the Oculus. If they got to jump through a lot of hoops to get that into play, I want to get that one going. Maybe get rid of the Pithing Needle. That seems pretty unnecessary. The Crypt looks great, so you're going to keep that in the main. Can probably get that Haywire Might out there. So I think just dispatch, maybe Force a Negation if Burke feels like he wants to do it.
All right, sounds good. So we'll have Michael on the play for game 2 in just a moment, but Final Fantasy is coming up. We've been thinking about it for a long time now, and now it is almost here. You actually got to play with these cards already, right?
Yeah, I got to play a little bit of a pre-release with a couple of my buddies here on Monday. It was a lot of fun.
Why didn't you invite me?
Actually, so if you need to pre-order, you can go to starcitygames.com/MTG-FIN to check out this really awesome set. See Sephiroth, see Cloud. I mean, there is really every iconic card that you can really think of. I also lost to Dark Ritual on turn 2 into Jet, a famous Final Fantasy X character. And yeah, it's a fantastic combo and a great card to have on turn 2, to say the least.
So you lost me there because I was thinking Mox Jet. So I was like, Dark Ritual into Mox Jet? That doesn't... You don't need to do that.
I need to get more educated on Lord of the Rings that you're a big fan of.
Yeah.
You need to get a little more educated on Final Fantasy. So just play every game by the time we commentate our next event together. And, we'll be good to go, okay?
Sounds fair.
Sweet.
All right, so coming back down to our match here. Looks like we have Burke and a mulligan here on the top. Michael up, or maybe not. Thought the deck was ready to go. We're still shuffling up. A little pre-game action, getting things ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. Hopefully that dice isn't a mulligan to 2. That is kind of our indicator. I don't think that's the case for this one.
That would be bold.
That would be bold. What 3-card hand would you ship back?
You know what? I gotta go to 2.
Yeah,
we cannot keep this. Maybe in the days of the old mulligan rule where you didn't draw 7 every time.
Yeah.
You drew 6, then 5, then 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty hard to imagine a 7 where you want to go to 2. So all right. So Michael's on the play here. That seems very, very important.
Yeah.
With these counter spells against a lot of these free spells, like on the play looks good. What's a good game for Michael going to look like?
I think it is going to start with either turn 1 Thoughtseize or a Stern Scolding on the back. Or just being able to have a Fatal Push ready to go and then curve into a Harbinger. The best card by far in this matchup is Urza Saga. It's so good against these Dimir decks where if it goes unchecked, that is just going to be the win for Azorius Affinity. Now, the flip side, Michael having turn 1 interaction like Thoughtseize into Frog, that can be very good as well because, the Azorius Affinity deck is not that good at dealing with a Psychic Frog. We do have Dispatch, which is going to be great, but either way you cut it here, it is not a good matchup for Dimir.
Yeah, and it's also your average Urza Saga is good against Dimir. These are not average Urza Sagas. In Affinity, they are mega sagas. They're making 8/8s, not 2/2s or 3/3s. So very, very powerful. So we see a tap land here from Burke. A little more tempered of a start, just a Mox Amber. Yeah. And then going to pass turn. We've got to forget that the artifact lands are banned.
Yeah.
The original 5 artifact lands from Mirrodin, the colored artifact lands, single color coming to play untapped, are not legal. Those are not allowed. So we see the tap dual land from was it Modern Horizons 2, right?
Yeah. Yep. That was Modern Horizons 2. Do you think they'd be too good, the OG artifact lands?
With Mox Opal, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that they could have unbanned the artifact lands or Mox Opal. Definitely not both.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so Surveil here for Michael. Taking a little look, and I'm sure Michael's got to be pleased that Burke's draw was a little more reasonable this time.
Yes. Whenever you're playing these kind of Azorius Affinity decks, whether it be Jeskai, Azorius, whatever, when you ever have I can add an extra mana with my Mox Opal on turn 1, those draws look just incredible. It feels like you're playing Legacy while everybody else is playing Modern.
All right, so we got a fetch here. So the main phase fetch land.
Ribbit.
Looking like a Psychic Frog.
That'd be a big game.
And what's Burke up to over here? Maybe a Broken Sleeve or something?
Looks like it.
There's no pitch cast Stifle yet, right?
Not yet. Okay. Not yet.
That would be something.
It's MH4.
Yes. Coming soon to a Modern format near you.
Absolutely. Hey, long day, you kind of beat up your sleeves throughout a long tournament. That just happens.
Got to keep them fresh.
Yep.
All right, so here comes down the Psychic Frog. And pass it back to Burke.
I love that version of Psychic Frog, by the way. I think I still like the OG a little bit better, but that's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, there's Urza Saga. Now, it is not available yet to make a construct. It's really important to make that construct, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's curving right into Michael's ideal play of if he's able to find a Harbinger to be able to Stone Rain your opponent. And now we're cooking. I mean, this is it.
All right, so we see a Tameo and an Emery. Milling over Force Negation, Metallic Rebuke, a land, and what's that top card?
I want to say that's a Shadow Sphere. I think it's Mughul's Knife?
A Morgul Blade.
Oh, okay.
Crafted
Sorry.
in the fires of Muldur.
Yes, that's what I meant. You didn't let me finish.
Of course, sorry. My bad. All right, so now multiple engines going from Burke, from not a lot to a lot here.
Yeah.
And Psychic Frog has some work to do. So going back Michael's way.
So yeah, this is closed deck list, so we don't know that there's no Bowmasters. That was a real cost from Burke. If Michael did have Bowmaster, we know Michael doesn't even play them in the 75, but if it was there, sacking that Bobble and losing your Emery there, you only make that mistake once. Because it feels like it's avoidable. You can just wait for your opponent to do things and then end step, do it when the coast is clear. But no Bowmasters in the 75, so kind of dodged a bullet there from Burke.
All right, so this game, Michael's getting to do his thing a little bit. So Frog comes in, draws a card. We see an Oculus discarded for the extra counter. Now, is this a preemptive discard or is this an all rolled up discard? Looking like the former without the Oculus already being in play here.
I mean, I think it's about to be in play. Like, we're doing that first. It's hard to not believe that if you discard it immediately, you're not going to just immediately play it. But okay, that makes sense too.
All right, so going the other way. So Murktide, so Oculus is going to get out of here. Going to the exile zone. We saw a discard of a counter spell as well. That was post damage too. Probably the draw for the turn. And we see Michael here just getting on the board and going big.
Yep, absolutely. And Psychic Frog and Murktide work quite well together. If you exile spells from your graveyard to jump the Frog, you do increase the power on the Murktide as well. So a nice synergy in this Dimir deck.
So is this Michael saying, I'm not going to beat you in a more normal game, I'm going to be the beatdown?
It looks like it. Whenever you got this many sagas cranking out constructs, we don't have the best card against these Azorius Affinity deck that, some of these lists play, some don't, and that's Dress Down. Dress Down really just is so perfect against any kind of construct game plan.
I was surprised I didn't see that card with Sideboard.
Yeah.
I actually, when you were talking earlier, I looked for it and didn't see it. I was like, good against Titan also, has some really good spots as well. But
I think Dress Down is criminally underplayed right now. I think that card is so good.
All right, so back Burke's way. And, of course, the Infinity deck is really good at doing its thing, but not necessarily at removing stuff. So, I love this. Tameo says, I don't care how big your dragon is. I'm getting in. Unfortunately, Michael finds the block. But,
Did it.
But there's a clue, and we're going to see, improvising.
The Kappa's here, and that card is unkillable for quite a while.
All right, so we have a very large creature, gets the counter, and unblockable possible threat, but there is more power in play on Michael's side than Burke's.
I would say still big advantage to Michael here. Now, the one thing Burke is going to have access to is being able to get a spell bomb, but just think if Michael goes land 3 Heartbringer, this game is over.
Yeah, that would be probably also on the table, I would think.
I would think so, too.
This part. So,
Michael could have it very, very easily, too. It's missed a land drop and just might be, why is me if we don't get it? And there could be a spot where Michael would just think like, all right, if I have Harbinger, I have to discard 3 cards. I have to jump this into the air. I guess you can just discard a couple cards and clear this Kappa out. So this is pretty much unblockable. I see a Harbinger. I'm pretty sure that second card in Michael's hand was a Harbinger. So this is going to be a tap the top of the deck if it's a land. Probably on our way to game 3. If not, it might be over.
All right, so looks like no block on this Frog. Obviously, threat of activation, a common magic term. No more true than the Psychic Frog. It's so hard to block this thing.
Yeah.
And there goes a Trespasser. A little surprised to see that with him still in the deck, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that one does not seem that great in this matchup.
All right, so it goes to the bin. One more point of damage. Draw off the frog. Is it a land?
Dun
A
dun.
little slow roll there. I love that. Sweat for the cameras. And it does not
Tell us, Michael.
not jumped right into play. Ooh, really making a sweat here.
Yes. Okay.
That's not a lamb. That's a pretty good one.
That's something.
Explosives on 0 here, threatening to mop up Karnstrucks, the Moxen, the Clues.
Yeah, I wonder if you fire it off now because there could be a pithing needle that locks it down. I don't think so, as that's the only real target. Not an open deckless tournament though, so of course it could stay in, just to always be staying in as like a safety net essentially. But that wasn't that big of a deal for Burke.
All right, so we've seen no activation on the Urza Saga. Here comes the Spell Bomb off the Chapter 3. Kappa's going to go up to a 6/6. And again, Michael's winning on board right now in probably the most aggressive Dimir draw I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, but man, you really got to feel for Michael here. This was his game to lose. Any land, not only, it's turn 4, it was turn 4 for Michael, but also connected with frogs a couple of times. And I saw that Harbinger for sure now, as well as a Dismember. So, wow. You could have just dismembered Emery. That might have been better. Because sure, you got rid of some zeros, but, those zeros can just come back.
All right, well, there goes the Harbinger a different way. Force negation to the counter of his Morgul Blade. Gone forever. And Spellbomb, of course, can mop these creatures up. With Emery still going as well, like you're saying, we can see a little loop in action going on here. See another counter on Cannoneer. 7 power now, unblockable.
Quite possible a 2-turn clock now.
That Spellbomb is pretty scary.
Very.
All right.
And only 2 cards from Michael, so could get a 3rd card, boost this frog up to 7, but this Spellbomb bouncing Murktide or bouncing the frog here is still really big game.
So why bounce the frog over the dragon?
Just because it draws a card, I think. It's similar power here. Now, the one thing that could go wrong is if you discard spells. I guess you exile the spells, and that only boosts Murktide by the same amount. So yeah, frog is just the better creature here.
Okay. Here comes Cannoneer. That's a pretty big hit. Here's a Tameo. That's a Hallowed Fountain there. Space Hallowed Fountain.
Yep.
All right. And a Bauble going to go off. Take a little peek. And what do you got there, Michael? Anything good?
Probably land 3. Being far too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that Harbinger, man, Michael really, really got unlucky there to break so many turns in a row to not hit it.
All right, so Michael now. Murktide Region in play, but only 5 power, and the Spellbomb is looming. Emery ready to rock that one back up.
Yeah, and if you dismember at this point, now you're just dead. Because Kappa, there is going to be an artifact coming into play, probably 2. And then that's up to 9, so, if you can go untap Swamp or something and dismember it the old-fashioned way, dismember for 3, sure. But if not, yeah, Spellbomb rips this Dimir deck to shreds.
And Tameo is a pretty good insurance policy here, too, right?
Yeah, block, whatever.
Right, because we could see Frog in theory and then exile cards in the graveyard to pump this Murktide up.
Yep.
Need to find some more spells, but...
Yeah, I don't think there are enough spells there. There's a Stubborn Denial, a Dismember, a Frog, and something else there. Either way, no real way to deal with Kappa. Well, that is an Unearth. Okay.
All right. Trespasser's back.
You can eat the Spellbomb now. Not bad, not bad.
So eat that Spellbomb, so no more... I mean, that's pretty relevant, right? Because... Finding 7 damage to this Murktide is not insanely difficult next turn. It's like a frog with exiles, and it's certainly doable. Did we just see a Tameo get exiled?
I believe so, to gain some life. So, just on face-up information right now, I believe Burke can attack for 11. So we got 7 from the Kappa. You can make a Construct, makes it 8. You can get a Lava Spore Boots, which makes it 9. If you have a land, that makes it 10 with the equip. Emery bringing a Bobble back makes 11. So a little short.
All right, so Trespasser putting a Michael up to 12. Burke with a draw. Here's a Saga. No cards draw. It's going to go into the deck and pull out a 0 or 1 drop. Quite a variety of options for Burke to choose from.
But now, since the Spellbomb's still there, Burke can do this a little more measured, not make a construct because the construct doesn't matter that much. Get whatever, and then bring back a Spellbomb, bounce Murktide, and now all of a sudden the clock is gone from Michael, and this Kappa can just rain down eventually.
Yeah, winning over 2 turns. That's totally fun.
Still counts as winning.
Yep. So we got to see a masterpiece here, and
I'll say that's a Needle.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So Needle naming...
Flawless victory? I don't know. Maybe you meme at this point if Burke already has it.
What is it? You are already dead or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's a thing. Yeah.
All right. So Emery's going to bring back Spellbomb. And here comes the bomb. And we see a Stubborn Denial.
Ooh.
All right. So only a 1-turn delay on this bomb. Obviously, Emery can bring it back next turn. And the Needle, we got word that it's naming Psychic Frog.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh, how about just a Llanowar Elf?
Oh.
Pithy Needle of a Llanowar Elf is going to pay for this Metallic Rebuke, improvise in, stop a Stubborn Denial. Here's the Aether Spellbomb, and now things are looking phenomenal for Burke.
Yes, absolutely. So the Trespasser can attack for essentially 4 because you can do 1 drain, and you bounce the Murktide, and now all of a sudden Burke looks like he's able to pretty cleanly win the game at 2 life is how it looks so far.
Yeah, a lot to work for Michael. And we kind of missed the fact here, obviously there's no 3rd land for Harbinger, but that no 3rd land ever. You know,
Yeah,
Michael's without 2 lands here the entire game.
Yeah. And I mean, this just would have been the easiest game for Michael ever if that Harbinger cleaned up 2 Urza Sagas.
All right, so back Michael's way. Can Michael find a way through all of this? Spellbomb, no real way to stop that one, right? There's no Stifle effects, no Tidebinders, so... Here comes the attack. Trespasser will trigger. We're going to see Trespasser target a creature, gain a life, and drain for 1.
Yeah, I would think the only hope is like you play a frog and you can block Kappa, but with an Emery in play, and hope your opponent doesn't have an artifact. But with Emery in play, you automatically have an artifact.
All right, Spellbomb goes off, targets the Murktide. The big dragon is going home.
Yep.
Back to hand. Damage goes through. Burke goes down to 2 life points, which is not 0.
Carry the 3 divided by... No, you're right.
Not 0, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
And now the frog looks embarrassing. And the thing is, this game was played beautifully by Burke. If the frog was online with this Pithing Needle, all you got to do, exile those 2 cards in your yard, Murktide grows, wins the game. So that Needle had to be in the deck, and it had to be named. So, like, this was just incredibly played here from Burke.
All right, Burke with that artifact. Kind of hard to miss, like you're saying, with the Emery in play, but that cap is real big. Got to get Spellbomb just in case. Cap is a little bigger. Going for the overkill. Enjoying the camera time. 7-0. Burke's feeling good. Yeah, let's draw some cards, too.
Why not? Why not?
I'm feeling good. Love it.
And there comes the king.
All right, Burke takes it down Affinity in dominating fashion. I did really like how Michael played that game.